Hi everyone, let's start lecture 6. In this lecture, we are going to have the Framingham heart study. In this study, we are going to apply logistic regression to predict heart disease based on some risk factors. Okay, this lecture will be presented in two parts, and this is the first part. On the course map, we are in the category of logistic regression. So we are going to have another application of logistic regression in healthcare. And in this lecture, we will consider the Framingham heart study, which will be the application of logistic regression in prediction of heart disease based on the risk factors. Okay. Let's have a background first to see why we are going to consider the application of logistic regression on prediction of heart disease. This background gets back to the years 1933 to 1945 when Franklin Roosevelt was the president of United States. Roosevelt is one of the longest serving president in the United States. He led the country through Great Depression, and also he was the commander-in-chief of U.S. military in World War II. Franklin Roosevelt died while he was president in April 12, 1945. Let's have some background data on the health situation of Roosevelt. Before his presidency, his blood pressure was 140 over 100. The blood pressure is measured in two numbers, like 140 over 100 or 120 over 80. The first number is systolic blood pressure, which measures the pressure when the heart beats, so pushing blood through the arteries. And the second number is diastolic blood pressure, measuring the pressure between the beats, so when the heart is at rest. So back in those years, I mean 1940, physicians believed that 140 over 100 is healthy. But these days, physician believes that the healthy blood pressure should be less than or equal to 120 over 80. Okay, and then over the years of presidency, Roosevelt's blood pressure increased to 210 over 120 1 year before his death. So during the Great Depression and World War II, his blood pressure was steadily increasing to alarming levels. And 2 months before death, his blood pressure was 260 over 150, and at the day of the death, 300 over 190. So the death of president was a wake-up alarm for physicians and politicians to initiate a massive research on the causes of heart disease. So here, because of that, we have the Framingham Heart Study Program. In late 1940s, the US government set out to better understand cardiovascular disease, CVD. Okay, so what was the plan? The plan was tracking large cohort of initially healthy patients over time. So the patients were initially healthy, and over time, their situation based on some risk factors was monitored, and based on that, they could predict the impact of some risk factors on getting the cardiovascular disease. Okay, so the city of Framingham in Massachusetts was selected for this study, and the reasons for this selection were appropriate size of the city, a stable population, and also having the culture of cooperative doctors and residents. Okay, and 1948 was the beginning year of Framingham Heart Study Program. In the beginning of the program, 5,209 patients aged between 30 to 59 were volunteered and enrolled in the study. So the patients given questionnaire and exam every 2 years in order to collect the data on these variables. So the variables like family and personal history of disease, present condition, complaints, and drugs taken, physical characteristics like the height, weight, temperature, respiratory rate, mental state, and body type measurements like body mass index or BMI. And every 2 years they had tests, and the test results like X-ray of the heart, electrical activity traced on an electrocardiogram, and samples of urine and blood, and also examination of pupils and retinas and thyroid and liver. Okay. Over the year of the study, exams and questions were expanded to include additional risk factors like physical activity and genomic information. Okay, now the Framingham Heart Study is in its 7th decade of collecting and analyzing the data. Okay, after about 10 years, the first findings on this study was about the unexpected rate of heart disease in women. Okay, and the second finding was finding some evidence that both high blood pressure and high cholesterol are the risk factors for heart disease. And 4 years later, in 1961, another paper published, and in this groundbreaking paper, they showed that how they can detect and treat the certain risk factors, and by doing that, the heart disease can be prevented. Okay, so now based on these findings and also having a large data set in this program for Framingham City, we are going to build a logistic regression model to predict and then define some interventions in order to prevent heart disease based on the prediction of the model. Okay.